In late 1914, as Invincible and Solmon were reaching the end of their testing, it was made clear by their tutor and gunnery officer Emily that some practical experience directing a large-scale supply chain was needed. After all, they had been designed to protect said railway convoys, and luckily for Emily, the Royal Navy was in dire need of help bringing supplies up to their new base in Scapa Flow. It was all the way up at the very tip of Scotland, her native territory, and while this string of good luck for the ROD may make it seem like all was well in the land of Britain, it was quite the opposite. Months now, German battle cruisers had been terrorizing the British coastline with lightning-speed raids that were over as quickly as they started. And while these raids didn't take the lives of many or damage important infrastructure, it still was a blatant show of German superiority. Something had to be done. By mid-October, Churchill had devised an ever-cunning plan to teach the High Seas Fleet a lesson they wouldn't forget anytime soon. The plan, in theory, was relatively simple. Heavy units of the Grand Fleet, accompanied by a dozen or so light escorts, would move into Brunselbottel, the entrance of the Kiel Canal, and Wilhelmshaven, the home port of the German Navy. To put it very bluntly, destroy everything and anything they could. And while everyone in the Admiralty showered Churchill's plan with praise, someone didn't. This gentleman, soon-to-be Sir Robert Normanby, had, on the behalf of his ship, HMS Godred, had forwarded a complaint about the plan, telling him to meet both of them at Scapa Flow for further elaboration. Bemused but intrigued, Churchill hitched a ride to Berwick.
Why, hello, sir. It's a pleasure to see you here. Would you care to take a seat?
Ooh, a seat? You better get me a bed after all the hiking you made me do. Now, tell me, why don't you like my plan?
Oh, no, sir. No, we don't dislike it. Far from it.
All right. So why did you bring me here, then?
Well, you see, sir, it's to do with the predicament you've put me and my ship into.
What predicament?
Well, you see, sir, in the document the Admiralty has provided me, it's clearly stated that Godred, accompanied by 2 cruisers and 3 destroyers, are to head for Wilhelmshaven on the 24th of December. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Well then, sir, we might have a problem, sir.
And why is that?
Well, thanks to the photos captured by mine layers earlier this week, and radio intercepts, we've been able to deduce that the battle cruisers Derflinger, Seydlitz, and Lotzow are all present at the target location, and so far we have no idea how much reinforcement they have. Sir, I'm very sorry to have to ask of you so much in such a tenuous time in our empire's history, but we cannot afford these odds.
But we can definitely afford another battleship.
Oh, thank you, sir!
However, I'll only grant you this new ship under one condition.
What is it?
I get to be on board Godred during the mission.
Oh, sir, it would be lovely to bring you along.
Aren't we going to ignore the clear risks of bringing the first Sea Lord on a mission like this?
Shush, Godred!
Yes, indeed, there is a great risk, and Godred is right. That is why I also request a higher seat in Godred's superstructure.
Yes, of course, sir.
Well, it seems we've come to a most agreeable arrangement. You'll receive this new member of your squadron by, let's say, late November. With Godred's faith and Churchill's common sense gone, So began the long wait until a new ship joined the fleet. However, this didn't mean that the supply chain the ROD was maintaining was slowing down. One morning, Solmon and Invincible were having a chat right before their work. And, as always, Invincible had something to complain about.
When do you think they're finally going to realize that we can go off and actually, fight?
Well, we already are fighting, Invincible.
Of course you'd call this fighting. Where's your appetite for glory?
I don't have one, and if you keep whining, I'll probably even lose the one I have for coal and water.
Oh, shut up!
Make me. It had been months since Solmon had rammed Invincible, and while he had stopped teasing him about it, Invincible was still bitter. Solmon often wondered if Invincible would always stay like this, but regardless, the strain of 20 coaches filled with rowdy sailors didn't let him think about Invincible's condition too deeply. However, what he did ponder was why an entire battleship's worth of crew was being transported to Scapa. Once Solmon reached the harbour, he saw a large ship coming towards him. At first, he thought it to be Godred. It looked like Godred, but it seemed smaller and shorter. As the shape got clearer, someone realized the ship lacked the 3 thin funnels, and a lot more. Then it spoke. Hello there, my name's Revenge. Hello, Revenge, mine's Solmon. If you don't mind me asking, what are you doing here? Revenge's smile turned into a grim expression. I'm here on a top-secret mission, but don't tell anyone. Someone quickly glanced at the 800 men on the platform next to them. Oh, trust me, old boy, you shouldn't worry about me anytime soon. Good. After Revenge was done with his brilliant mind games, Godred pulled into the dock where Solmon and Revenge were sitting, and his heart sank as he saw what Churchill had promised him. It was indeed a new ship. So new, in fact, it lacked a full secondary battery rigging, part of its main mast, and was reduced to a skeleton crew. Godred had been duped. Are you, Revenge? Yes, I am, and I assume you're Mr. Godred. It's hard to mistake you for anyone else with those 3 funnels. Yes, so, welcome to Scapa. If you don't mind me asking, have you trained before coming here? How's your gunnery? My what? You don't know what gunnery means? No clue. You know, how good you're at shooting things? Oh, you mean that? No, they told me you'd teach me. This will be the first time I actually fire my main guns. I'm really excited. Oh, I see. Well, I'm a Revenge. Mind giving me a little moment? I need to go and talk to someone. Take your time, Mr. Godred. So, how do you think that went? Oh, yeah, that went great. Revenge, eager to know more about what Godred thought of him, followed him around the harbour, hiding behind islands. I wanted a battleship, not a strip gun platform that doesn't know how to use its guns!
Godred, you're screaming again.
Look, this isn't just about my reputation. It's the very future of our empire, this operation, and I can't have a floating hulk come and ruin everything. He doesn't know how we work.
Is that really why you don't want him in?
Look, I'm just not feeling this. The boys on this deck look 19 and 20. I don't even think they know how to breathe properly yet. I don't want to risk the lives of children just so Churchill can get a joyride.
I know, but we have to work with what we have been given. Look on the bright side for once. You finally have someone you can teach all the strategies and tactics you talked about. You have a chance to not only make a valuable fleet asset, but a good friend. I'd say, take the opportunity.
Are you sure about this?
Yes, I'm sure of it. Now have some heart and give the poor lad a chance.
You're talking as if I didn't have one. And with that, Godred, with what little time he had left, took Revenge under his wing. Godred was an excellent, although strict teacher, and was only satisfied by the very best. And even then, if revenge met that quota, sometimes even surpassing it on some occasions, Godred would show little to no appreciation. This, however, didn't discourage him. During the frosty evening of December the 24th, all kinds of ships lined the docks of Scapa Flow. There were minesweepers and layers, destroyers, flotilla leaders, and cruisers. They were all loaded with crewmen young and old. Some of them came from towns nearby, others from places far away like Sodor. Godred was ready at 5 o'clock. There was snow and frost. The last hatch banged. Robert Normie gave the signal. Godred's fleet was ready to go. As the cavalcade advanced deeper and deeper into the North Sea, Revenge would periodically look towards the rapidly vanishing shoreline, until it was no more. Revenge was truly out to sea now. It was calm, suspiciously so. And sure, the waves rocked the battleship from side to side, but there were no catastrophic tsunamis he had been told about, although he was thankful for it. The seemingly calm weather had allowed crews and ships a little bit of rest before the imminent battle. This calm and tranquility had allowed conversations to spring up between man and machine. Revenge, seeing that Agincourt wasn't talking to anyone, decided to log on to her radio channel and have a little chat. Miss Agincourt, may I ask a question?
Of course, but please, don't call me Miss Agincourt. Call me Angus.
Oh, well, alright, Agnes, I wanted to ask you something, since it seems you know Godred quite well.
Yes, you could say that.
I see, well, my question is Godred always like this?
Like what?
Just so cold and...
Uncaring?
Yeah, you could say that.
Godred is a warship in every sense of the word. He has high standards and wouldn't compromise the safety of his missions no matter what. In truth, Revenge, the fact he has been training you so vigorously probably means that deep down he cares a lot more about you than you think.
Those words stuck with Revenge. Him and Agincourt would keep talking for the few minutes they had left together, but as the force reached German waters, they slowed down and got into formation before ultimately splitting up. Godred and Revenge and their accompanying ships advanced into Wilhelmshaven. This was the first time either, or actually all of them, had ever seen Germany up close. It looked strangely familiar. The cranes and docks looked like British ones, the cargo and fishing boats looked like British ones, and the few silhouettes of men they could catch walking the lonely piers also looked like British ones. And then they saw their targets, the German warships, Der Flinger, Seydlitz, and Lutzow. What little sympathy they had gained had now vanished. These were the monsters that harassed the British coast. These were the cowards that ran back home when challenged. They were the enemy, sleeping peacefully, as if they had done no wrong. In almost complete unison, the British ships and their crews said a prayer, hoping that if it all came down to it, their wounded souls would be guided towards the heavenly summit of God's kingdom. But for the German fleet, hell would open its gates. Not a single shot fired from Godred's turret was uncalculated, each hit proving again and again his total grasp on the science of gunnery. He had such a knowledge of shell velocity, he had the ability to create large columns of smoke right on the craters his shells formed, obscuring the already stolid Germans. However, in the greatest sense of irony, Godred strayed on his barrels would cause an unbelievable amount of smoke to flare up. This didn't bother him, as the smoke would be carried by the wind behind him. Behind him, however, stood Revenge, and as the smoke made it hot for him to see, he based his aim on the bright spots of fire he would see in the distance. This would be a grave mistake. Revenge had struck the largest fuel reserve the German Navy possessed, and it was burning very brightly. So bright, in fact, it allowed the Germans to finally see the British ships that had mercilessly disturbed their sleep. And for the first time since the start of the battle, Der Flinger roared back. Slowly his shells creeped closer and closer to Godred, and then... the very same bridge where Churchill had been standing was now reduced to dust. Godred and Revenge understood that they had outstayed their welcome. Rushing towards the entrance of the port, Revenge and Godred were closely followed not only by ships, but by gunfire. Shells landed all around them, some of them even grazing the lightly armoured parts of their superstructures. However, a few broken windows had now become the least of their concerns.
Take this, English scum!
Godred was dead in the water, and as British naval jacks disappeared off the horizon, he saw Der Flinger, Seydlitz and Lutzow form a circle around him, closing in like vultures. Godred closed his eyes and braced for the worst. As the battle cruisers zeroed in on him, his wounds became even more apparent. His masts were gone, his funnels were reduced to a mangled wreck, and his rear turret had jammed up in the air. Their mouths foamed at the idea that they had not only driven back the attacking British force, but were about to sink the single largest battleship in the world. Or so they thought. Just as Godred lost all hope, Revenge came barreling towards them. Startled, the German ships opened fire. He didn't stop. In desperation, they launched torpedoes. He didn't even flinch. With the odds stacked up against them, the German ships, as they always do, ran with their tails in between their legs. Revenge slowly pulled alongside Godred and attached a tow line. Godred, still vividly shaken, could barely even form words. "Revenge, do you know how many lives you just risked?" "Yeah, I do. One of them being my own." Godred stayed respectfully silent. During the trip back home, he had a lot of time to think about what he did and what he had to say to Revenge, the first thing being an apology. "You know, Revenge, I'm going to be direct with you. I'm sorry for the way I acted, and sorry for underestimating you, and, well, thank you for coming back and saving me." Revenge stayed silent for a moment. "Apology accepted." Godred grinned. "So you didn't want to enact revenge on anyone in particular?" Revenge giggled. "Oh no, believe it or not, I don't swear by my name. I believe revenge to be a petty excuse for skirmish." "Oh, so what do you think we did today?" Revenge had a big smile on his face. "We delivered justice to the Kaiser and peace to the King." Revenge was right to say that, as on the morning of December the 25th, 1914, for the first time in months, Britons would wake up at peace. As British children unpacked presents, German ones dug out shelters for what little family they had left. And while this was a dark time for the world, a time where man had prioritized the destruction of his fellow brother, a group of the most inhumane machines built for war, were all huddled together in dry docks and sheds, telling each other stories. Some talked about the days of peace, others talked about the days of peace to come. However, in the days they were living, they embraced this human warmth from their brothers and sisters, all made from iron and steel. Some of them were classmates, some of them shared distant design features. However, on that Christmas, The battleships Agincourt, Revenge, and Godred, with the company of the land cruiser Solmon and the rail escort Invincible, sat together as a family. For Churchill, however, he now had the odd job of explaining to his wife and children how Daddy had accidentally broken his 2 legs on his otherwise peaceful business trip.